Hey, welcome to another episode of Gracefully Embracing Chaos, brought to you by McKinsey Corporation. We're here with Jenny and Katie, co-presidents and co-owners of McKinsey Corporation. Over the past few months, we've talked a lot about strategic, kind of bigger picture concepts. So today I want to get a bit more tactical and talk about one of the things that we've been focusing on internally, and it's the concept of unlocking the vault. So we, based on our 35 years of experience, have put together a really strong four-step process for strategic brand positioning. And one of the first steps, no, the first step in that is unlocking the vault. And so as a preface, the way that we explain that is it's to expedite the strategic planning process by leveraging the insights that brands already have. So one of the things we've talked about from that high level is that with the access to information, brands doing surveys, if they're tracking online behavioral data, there's so much that brands already know. So before jumping into a new project, we want to get the most out of that information. Now, that said, that's a really big concept because there's a lot that each brand could have, and it varies from brand to brand. So I want to break down a little bit how we've positioned that and how we frame this unlocking the vault concept. So we have pinpointed 4 key points. We want to learn about the brand's company. We want to know what they know about their customers. We want to learn about their top competitors, and we want them to paint a picture of their market today. And again, because this is in the beginning stage of the process, this is all based on what they know today. And so what we've seen is that brands operate a lot on assumptions and presumptions. So we consider these to be theories and hypotheses. And so you'll say, I know my customers, I know my market. And then the question is, well, do you? Because when's the last time that you validated these theories and hypotheses with data-driven insights and actually building a factual foundation? So I want to focus primarily on what companies and brands know about their customers, because I think this is one of the biggest and most interesting areas. So Jenny, let's start with you. And I guess what I'd like from you is to walk through a little bit, if you had a brand or were working with a client, what are some of the questions or what are some of the topics that you'd want to cover when asking them, what do you know about your customers?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible, powerful opportunity, right? To be able to back up. I mean, most people will come to us and, hey, can we just jump right into a survey or jump right into something or jump right into tactics for marketing? And like you said, we want to be able to back all the way up. It's really going to depend. I mean, I think even just starting with a broad question of, do you know who your target audience is? Do you know who we're actually talking to? I mean, I was chatting with actually somebody yesterday and we were talking about specifics for marketing tactics and doing things. I said, but who are we actually talking to? What are their actual problems? What is it what keeps them up at night? Where does this problem solve or fit into the bigger picture of their lives? There's so much, it's such an exciting topic to get into. I want to first figure out, I mean, do we know that we're talking to obviously B2B, B2C? Or is it a working mom? Is it a CMO at a company? Is it a whoever it is that we're dealing with? So there's just basics, demographics, which we need to get past or get to. But then it's starting to dig down deeper into what is actually happening in their lives. What do we know about them? What problem are we solving for them? What's going on? What are their assumptions to these problems? What else are they purchasing? There's so much that we need to know. And like you said, I think a lot of companies, while they might not have it written down, they might not have their buyer personas developed, they actually know a lot of this. If we stop for a second of who are your best customers, where did they come from, talk to your customer service people, talk to your salespeople. I mean, I guess then we're jumping ahead of where to get the information, but there's just so many incredible, powerful things that I think companies are sitting on that they might not know just because it's not written in a buyer persona formal format just yet. So I don't know if that answers
Katie,
the question.
Jenny had mentioned something that you bring up about McKinsey a lot, which is the value and the service that we're providing for the client, for the customer. And so it's one thing for us to sit internally and say, this is what we intend on doing. We want to offer certain value or to offer a certain solution. Why do you feel it's important for brands to really dig into and assess the value and the solutions that they're providing? Kind of that difference between a customer buying a product and a service versus a customer buying a solution.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. I think really a lot of that is trying to think about the lifetime then value of the customer, right? If you're selling something to solve an immediate problem, and then once that problem goes away, then is that customer going to stay with you and have a need for a long time investment with you? And so really being able to also understand kind of and really think about the value and how your product can be integrated into somebody's life and really be able to make an impact there, then you can really start to be able to get brand ambassadors and like loyal long-term customers, because then you're really talking about whatever that product is, how they're using it and how you're making a difference in their lives. And so that is one of the things we talk a lot about. You know, I always say we get one shot at this life, so we might as well make it really amazing. And so why not create products, and whether it is like your B2B, and so it's something to do with someone's professional life or their personal life in the B2C side of things, you know, how can you be adding value to be able to enhance the experience of that person's day? And so really thinking about it from that perspective and from the human side of the product and the person who's the human on the other side of buying your product or service, instead of just trying to think about the one, like what your product is. For us, that really just matters because again, the people is what matters most to us here at McKinsey.
Jenny,
sorry, Brent, just to remember, and I think when you came back, you know, what is it that companies know about their customers? I think when we stop and actually ask these questions, it's actually painting actual people at the end of this using these products and services. And so it humanizes the end consumer, which is exciting to think about. You know, you're selling to Brent or to Katie or, you know, to me or to whoever it is, and you actually can see these people in real life using your product, and then you've got a deeper connection with them. So I think even just the beginning part of this unlocking the vault is to remember, which then leads to then obviously when we're going to be doing future engagement with them, whether or not that's research or marketing or whatever, but that we're actually talking to these human beings there, that it's humanizing them.
Another area of unlocking the vault that I think often go
humanizing it.
Humanizing.
I just had a guy come drop off a package. Sorry. Hey, thank you. Another one of the areas of unlocking the vault that we have is past survey data. And so there's so often that we are talking to brands, we'll be talking to them for weeks, and they don't mention at all that, hey, 6 months ago we did this survey, or even 2 years ago we did this survey. Yet from our standpoint, we want to know that. That's incredibly valuable because regardless of the context, regardless of how it was done, when it was done, whether they have confidence in those findings or not, these offer some incredible opportunities for benchmarking or to shape our perspective and our approach to it. Jenny, what are some of the things, I guess, when you're talking with someone, and we've had clients in the past who give us past survey data, why is that important or valuable for a brand to remember that? Let us know, because you've done it in the past, we can still use it today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing, whether or not it's survey data or, you know, call center information or any of this type of stuff, I think what's really important to remember is sometimes whatever project that we're working on, we're seeing it as a silo, right? We're like taking it as a snapshot in time of what's going on, but we need to remember that this one interaction, it lives in an entire ecosystem of what's going on with that customer, right? And so, I mean, a lot of times with the past survey data, well, a couple of things, but one, there might be open-ended text that we can be mining in there to be able to figure out what's happening, what some like nuggets that we have. We also know that those results, whether or not they were overall satisfaction scores or what people wanted for product development or any of these type of things, those survey results and findings then also make up the assumptions that are happening within the business today, right? So we always like going in to say, well, what's the assumption that you already believe? And I guess you had mentioned, you know, what's the hypothesis that you believe? You know, the worst thing I want to do is come in, show some survey results, and then find out later and say, oh, well, 2 years ago, we did this exact same survey and customers said X. Well, I mean, I guess in the fact if we're trying to test against it, I could possibly see. But the thing is, well, what about this survey? Why are we doing it again? What did we like about it? What did we wish that it did? Where did we want to dig deeper? What worked with that? What didn't work with that? I mean, everything of why not leverage all the information that we have as opposed to starting scratch. And I will just say, especially in this time, and you might touch on it later, but obviously in this past year, the entire world's been flipped upside down. I mean, that's just kind of what's happened here. So a lot of people might say, we can't use any of that. That is not true. I mean, there are a lot of things that are different in how we are as consumers and what we're doing, but there is a lot of things that are similar. At my core, my family comes first, my kids come first. I value friendship, I value travel, I value different things. I mean, there are certain things that are core to me that are not different from a year or two ago. How I purchase, some certain decision making is a little bit different now, obviously, of where we live, but there is value that we can pull from what was happening 2-3 years ago. So I would encourage, we should not be throwing everything out. We pull that in and then we start mining through to say, what can we use to now stay, what can we do going forward?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind when we're having this conversation is that in the past, because we've got this strategic process where we say we've got these 4 steps that need to be taken. We've got brands and clients who want to jump right to number 3 or jump right to number 2, and they want to bypass this because they say, just like you said, I want to start fresh. I've got this new survey. I want to get right to it.
Yeah.
Part of the value that I see are 2 things, and Katie, I'd like you to expand on this.
Yeah.
One of them being, you've invested the time and resources to doing whatever it is you did. Let's pull it back out and see if there's any value that we can extract further, because worst case scenario, we see it and say, okay, no, you're right, this is useless. But best case scenario, we find a nugget or we find something that can give us more direction of where to explore. So getting everything on the table in that regard is valuable. I think the other side of it also then is when we have this conversation and we've got a client who brings in internal stakeholders or they've got different departments, is we start to uncover some inconsistencies within them of what they think and who they think their customers are. So when we talk about something like departmentalizing, you've got the marketing, you've got sales, you've got social media, everybody starts to hyper focus on their task and see their customers within this specific framework. So Katie, expand a little bit, if you would, on the value of this process in then developing a 3-dimensional view of the customer, and then also establishing, hey, you might have different perspectives and perceptions of who your customer is just because this is how you focus on them on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, there's a few different thoughts on there. Really, I think a huge thing is expectation alignment around the project itself. One, and then being able to truly understand and even starting the process on the internal with the unlocking the vault and bringing together, like you said, different stakeholders from different cross departments, and being able to hear what each one of those departments thinks and what their perspective is or what their perceived journey is for the customer, the different areas for opportunities for growth and change in that journey, provides the opportunity for internal stakeholders to really practice and live active listening, to be able to learn and to be able to understand, so that then they can enhance the experience down the road. And if they can work on that internally, and that internally you can get to that consensus, then you are more prepared to be active listening and really truly having an engaged one-to-one relationship with your customer as well. So one is just making sure too, that opportunity to be able to practice what you're going to try to do with your customers internally, and then again get on a very clear page of the same expectations, so that everybody then is saying, you know what, gosh, this is a great piece to put together, and so that then it's a collaborative approach towards this overall holistic project. Because our big thing is wanting to be able to try to break down the silos around ownership of customer experience and making sure that then we can integrate research in with the marketing department and all of those types of things. And so this exercise of being able to go through this helps with that. And then one of the other thing around the idea of bringing back in some of the past either surveys that you've done or market research or studies that you've done, really asking a lot of times the question of like, what did you do with this? And so if nothing happened with that, let's actually unpack and again, be truly authentic and like why. And so it's a way to be able to uncover some potential roadblocks that this project may face as well. Because the biggest thing, again, coming down to it is everybody wants to have their voice heard. We've been talking about this nonstop. And so if you are asking your customers and saying that you value their opinion, that you care about them as a person, and then you don't do anything with it, and you don't share back on how you integrated the research into your operations and be able to enhance those experiences, then you're asking your customers for time and not truly valuing it. And so being able to address any sort of roadblocks on being able to make change as a result of what you're going to uncover through this process is something that's important to do in the beginning, because maybe the timing isn't right to be able to do this study, or the timing isn't right to do this project. And for us, we really want to be able to uncover that and have that honest conversation with the brand up front. Because if it should wait 6 months to be able to finish some other larger initiatives, then that's the right thing to do. And we just believe in doing the right thing for the business, for anything, because nobody wants to finish again a project, not only like it was Jenny saying, and saying, well, we already knew that because we didn't share that information, but we also don't want to finish a project and leave you excited and inspired to be able to make a change. And then you're just hitting up against a roadblock on not being able to actually implement. And so being able to spend time talking about what any of those roadblocks might be during this phase as well is extremely valuable. So that would be, again, another, it's providing time to be able to have true, honest, open dialogue, to be able to bring everybody to the same, plate.
Yeah, Katie, you touched on a really important and I think valuable aspect of Mackenzie that I've really grown to appreciate about both of your leadership styles. And that's, we're not going to take business just to take business. We're going to partner with a brand or a client who we believe we can genuinely help, and they're on the same page as us with the level of commitment and detail that we want to get to. And Jenny, I think you could probably speak to how many times we've had a client come to us with an idea for a project, but through this process, we realized that wasn't the right project they needed at the time. And whether or not, as Kate said, we wait 3 to 6 months and revisit this, or we say, you know what, based on unlocking the vault, I'm seeing a bigger need for this type of project here. It'd be really easy just to have someone come to us. We want to do this project. We do it, we hand it over, and then we wash our hands of it. But part of the value of unlocking the vault is ensuring that they're taking the best next step. And without that, we have no context, we have no understanding if what we're doing for them is the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. And that's key. I think that the biggest thing is, before we jump into any project, is what problem are we actually solving? I mean, I know sometimes we'll come in and we'll say, this is what I want. But after we have this conversation, we'll say, but knowing your overall business goals, this is what you actually need. And together, I mean, we're not coming in and we don't know anybody's business better than they do, but we've been through this process multiple times, and in talking through the conversation and saying, oh, actually, I haven't connected with this person internally, or what about this person? Or, oh, I didn't realize they were already doing X, Y, Z, what are we doing? And so then by the time we tee up our either market mapping or we've teed up our survey, we know that we're asking the exact right questions that we need to be asking for the problem that needs to be done. I mean, obviously, this conversation has morphed a bit into, customer experience and all of that, because that's just what we live and breathe. But I mean, it could be a product development. I mean, everything has to do with customers, which is why I think we weave it in there. But whatever project that we're doing, we want to make sure of what problem are we actually solving? How does that tie to the overall business goal, so that we're asking the right questions in the right order and working on the right focus. I mean, that's just, like you said, like we've been doing this long enough that we've seen when it doesn't work, when we just jump right in, we do a survey, we do a project, we do something, and it doesn't, at the end of every single project, of what could be, what could we do different? And this is really a big one, of realizing having alignment on the front end is where we see success. 100%. Every time that this process follows the right way, we see success, and we see people at the end saying, yes, I love this. I can take this. I can make a difference. I can see how it can impact my business. And then we do something else with them. So I don't know. It's exciting to be able to have, and then it morphs above and beyond us, this project. Then they've got, okay, I see where the bigger picture is. We've got alignment, all of that. So It doesn't, I also just want to say, I mean, obviously unlocking the vault is a big thing, but it doesn't have to be this huge project, right? I mean, we've got it like very much teed up and lined up of like, these are the questions we ask, what's going on, so we can most succinctly move forward with what we've got going in there. So
I think it
I think,
helps. Oh, sorry. I think just really quick, I think it also helps to ensure that the project is actually more from a strategic standpoint instead of from a tactical standpoint. And so that's, the other part is just ensuring that it's tied to the bigger picture and being more strategic in terms of like how we measure success, what those metrics are, versus it being down at the down in the weeds or the tactical level.
Yeah, Jenny, you touched on a great point, I think, to be able to wrap things up, is that this doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. This isn't a 6-month project. This is a first step towards the next steps and making sure that we're setting the table for us to then be moving in the right direction. Thank you both so much for your time, insights, and thoughts. If anyone out there, if you're interested in unlocking your vault of insights, we're happy to help. If nothing else, just get the conversation going so that you can learn more about what we do and who we are. Send us a note at mckenziecorp.com. We are Gracefully Embracing Chaos. This has been brought to you by McKinsey Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with more.